Oh, wake up. Shit. So I apologize if this video is a bit weird. I do not have any coffee. I got a Keurig brewer as an early birthday present, and it's not working. So I'm brewing up a cup of tea in the background right now. But I'm starting a new video series called Why Insert Killer Here is Bad. I'm going to do all the killers, even killers that are good, like Mike Myers and Nurse, but I'm probably going to save the better killers for the end. I want to start with why certain killers are bad, and I was talking about maybe going in order of shittiness, but I'm definitely starting with Freddy. Now, this is before the Freddy rework comes out. Now, we're going to start with Freddy. Freddy is a bad killer. Now, a lot of people say that Freddy is a great killer in low rank because survivors don't know how to counter him. However, killers also don't know how to play Freddy in low rank. If you are a low rank killer and you're playing Freddy and you're good, you're going to quickly get out of low rank and then you're going to be stuck with a shit character. That's why Freddy is a bad character. See, every character is good in low rank. Let's get that straight. They could release a killer where his power is he hugs the survivors. And it progresses their generator repair speed. It makes it faster. Yeah, that could be a good killer. You know. They could have a fucking Care Bear be a killer in this game. It'd be perfectly fine. At low rank. Let's get that straight. Let's start with why Freddy is bad. Part of this comes from a combination. I need to put Freddy's other perk on. Bloodwarded. The other one is Remember. Just for ease of effect. The first thing we need to talk about with Freddy is why is Freddy so bad? Well, unlike all of the other killers in the game who can just hit you, they can just, I have it here, they can just pull out a knife or something and whack you. You go, ha! You get down. See, Freddy doesn't have that. See, Freddy has to pull a survivor into the dream world, which by default takes 8 seconds. It's not mentioned here, which is why I want to put it up there. Survivors who are awake do not see him. So it's kind of like Race, only Race can go bing bong and pull and hit someone very quickly. Survivors enter the dream transition for a short time. Yeah, 8 seconds is not a short time. You can fail skill checks while doing it, and you have this constant game of cat and mouse with Freddy just trying to pull you into the dream, you failing a skill check, him trying to pull you into the dream, and you're basically tunneling that one survivor that keeps pulling themselves out of the dream. They can see lapses of Freddy. They can't see him permanently. Let's get that clear. They can see little flashes in that, which that's no big deal. And then the survivors in the dream world. Now, when the survivor is in the dream world, their aura is revealed to the nightmare when they are outside of his terror radius. So they essentially have Nurse's calling active at all times. Now, this can be countered very briefly with distortion. If you have distortion at tier 3, which is a survivor perk from Jeff, well, guess what? You have 30 seconds of freedom. Survivors suffer an action speed penalty of 50%, which is pretty bad. And then to exit the dream world, they have to find a non-sleeping survivor to wake them up, get hooked, or fail a skill check. Now, this is the other requirement as to why Freddy is so hard. So let's start with the two big things. First off, Freddy has to put you asleep, which means 8 seconds. Let me demonstrate how long 8 seconds is, okay? Are we ready? I'm gonna wait for the timer in my thing to go 4:05. 4:05. Okay. And in those 8 seconds, I literally just went into the kitchen and completely de-set up my tea. All I have to do now, I didn't have enough time to pour the tea into the cup, but everything else is done. That's literally how much time I have. I can go make a cup of tea in the time it takes for Freddy to put me in the dream world. I really wanted to illustrate that. I wanted to illustrate that. I actually timed this video perfectly, because I need the tea. But now, here's the other thing. You can fail a skill check. Now, this leads to Freddy's only viable build strategy, which we'll talk about at the end as of right now. But Freddy is not a killer that is very effective. He has no lethality. he can't take advantage of Noed. Noed is like the universal killer crutch over here. Every fucking killer except maybe Legion, which will be the next video, can take advantage of Noed. Freddy cannot, because Freddy has to pull you into the dream world. For example, you can open the exit gate while asleep and get out in the time it takes for Freddy to put you to sleep. If Freddy catches you while you are on an exit gate and it's about to be opened, you're gone. Freddy cannot catch you. He has no lethality for 8 seconds. This means that for 8 seconds, Freddy has to be right behind you and ready to hit you. He's got to have them claws ready. He's got to have them claws ready. It doesn't do anything. Now, another problem that Freddy has is it's very easy to get out of the dream world. I can fail a skill check. That means going over to a generator, going over to a hook. Hell, I've used toolboxes and I'll just go over and start sabotaging a hook, fail the damn skill check, and I forgot to turn my alarm off. Fail the skill check, and then you're done. Huh. I got a phone call at 12 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck? Why are you calling me? So, Freddy is very bad because of that. He's very easy to counter. But it gets worse. Now, of the killers in this game, Freddy has decent perks. They're not great perks, but they all have a use. All of these perks are good, and if they do rework Freddy and they change his perks, I would like to see these perks become base perks in the game, and then, because I think there should be an obsession perk at the very least. It's like a basic obsession perk, and then after all of that, if they want to give him 3 new perks, that's fine. I want to see these in the available survivor pool. But the problem is they're very niche, and they also conflict with one another. Now, another thing I want to say, Freddy does not have a dominant map. He does not have a dominant map. You can't run a map offering and think it's successful. The only add-on that Freddy, or offering that Freddy really benefits from is the Ebony Memento Mori, which every killer also benefits from. And add-on wise, there's not a lot of good add-ons that he has. There's some alright ones, and there's some good ones that are niche as well. Decreasing skill check chances in the dream world is very good. There's a more powerful version of that we'll talk about. Slightly increases the power range. That's a good one. I don't know if there was an upgrade to that. Moderately increases movement speed after successfully putting a survivor in dream transition. Now, this is good for getting a confirm, but if you're putting a survivor in the dream world, you want to stay, like, right behind them. So this is not really a great type of add-on. Looking at these, you have decreases survivors' action speed in the dream world. Now, this adds basically another, I think it's 10 or 15% action speed penalty in the dream world. This, to me, is an unnecessary perk, because at 50% reduced action speed, you pretty much aren't doing anything. It is dying light. Okay, I just want to mention that right off the bat. Freddy applies dying light to anyone in the dream world, so he is a better version of dying light, but that's about it. One of the reasons why this perk and this add-on, in my opinion, is wasted is because of the fact that, I mean, the survivor already can't really do anything except fail a skill check. So, the only thing that this is maybe good for is if the enemy team is like all Claudettes and they're all running, you know, self-care with a med kit and botanic knowledge. And they're like trying to just out-heal that penalty. That's the only thing I can think of. Moderately increases the power range. This is good. This lets you be a little bit more of a long-range sniper with your power. Because that's another problem that Freddy has, is Freddy has to pull someone into the dream world. He has to get relatively close to them. So anything that increases the range is nice, but it's not a must-have. This is a good one where this is an odd one. It considerably decreases the skill check chances in Dream World, but it increases the amount of time it takes to fall asleep up to 8.5 seconds. Why? That's like the worst thing you can do. Yes, it decreases the skill check chances by a lot, by 25, 30%. It's not worth it. It's 8.5 seconds now. Now, this is a very good one. Now, this increases skill chances, so it gets them out of the dream world faster, but it reduces the time to 6.5 seconds, and that's what you want to do. You want to be reducing your time. I will give the increased skill check chances any day of the week to decrease that timer. Here you go. This is a better one, obviously. This is basically a cat block, but without the penalty, where it reduces the transition by 1.5 without that drawback. This is obviously superior, but this does work in a pinch. Survivors suffer an additional 25% action speed penalty when pulled into the dream world for the second time. This is really to prevent people from being able to do anything, because now you're at 75%. The only time swing chains comes into effect is if you're running an outdoor route. If you are just going for max, you will not complete anything. But the problem with this build is you are essentially encouraging them to get out of the dream world lethality-wise. More often than not, if this is what they're doing, they're just going to rage quit. They're just going to keep rage quitting. Because there's no real way they can get the generators done in time. I mean, even with a toolbox. So it's hit or miss on this one. The problem, this is a strong add-on, but it doesn't help you with lethality. It just slows the game to a crawl. And that's pretty much all Freddy can hope to do, is slow the game to an absolute crawl. Not to get kills, not to pip up, just slow the game to a crawl. Tremendously increases the power range. To be honest, having played with this is not as good. Trust me, the range on it is fantastic, but realistically, you don't need that. Remember, you want to be closer to your target than farther away. So the longer away they are, the worse it is. What you want to run is you want to run the increase the power range, and I think it was over here, the increased movement speed in the dream transition. So you can close a lot faster on them while still maintaining a little bit of range, a little bit of poke range. This tremendously decreases survivor action speed. This, again, it's the same thing as the swing chains, basically. They're good as a 1-2, but all they do is slow the game down. They do not actually help your lethality. And that is Freddy's problem. He doesn't have lethality. He does have the longest lunge range in the game to compensate. Where most killers are like this, he's like this. But that's it. He has a good lunge range. Moderately decreases skill check chances in the dream world. Again, this is a more beneficial thing because it means they can't get out of the dream world as fast. You know, survivors do not see glimpses of you in dream treasures. This is shit. Don't do that one. Now we get to some of the more, this is where you specialize. See, this is the other part too. Freddy has a very good and diverse set of things here that you can go for that are pretty good. When you get to these, this is where you have to specialize. So let's start. You have the Paint Thunder. This tremendously increasing movement speed after putting the survivor in the transition. This is, again, very good with increasing the range so that you can close a lot quicker. This does give you lethality, but only on the first hit. Because once you use that first hit, you lose that boost of speed, and the survivor gets their adrenaline from getting hit. Voila. The only reason that this is good is if you're going for a no-ed build where you basically say, fuck the generators, get everything done, I'm just going to kill you with no-ed. When a survivor is pulled into the dream world, all survivors are revealed to you. Now, that is a great and powerful thing. It is barbecue and chili every time you activate your power. There's a slight problem with that. You've increased the time to the dream world to 10 fucking seconds! Now, that's not a bad thing. In theory, because it gives you now 10 seconds to see all the other survivors. Problem! The other survivor can get snapped out of it with a skill check in 10 seconds. You mean to tell me that you've been working on a generator for 10 seconds and you haven't gotten a fucking skill check? What's wrong with you? I hate this add-on. I hate it. Because it's so good, it's so bad at the same time. The Z block is the best add-on in the game for him because it drops it down to a flat 6 seconds. That's the only reason it is fantastic. Now these two are your interesting ones. So this is the red paintbrush. This tremendously reduces the terror raise. This drops this thing down to nothing. He's got to be standing right next to you to fucking hear him. but it also reduces movement speed, and it reduces the dream time. This is the equivalent of Freddy's Judas Tombstone. It slows your mobility, but it makes you very lethal. It means you have no terror radius, and the thing is by 6 seconds. You're at a 6-second transition. What this means is that you are able to pretty much effectively stalk behind the survivor, twinkle, twinkle, little, and then jump out and kill them because they don't know where you are with the terror radius. And then the black box. Now, this is quite possibly one of the strongest add-ons in the game, but the problem with it is it's also the easiest to counter. So this allows the obsession. This causes you to be obsessed. They start the trial in the dream world. You have an instant reveal on them. This immediately counters Soul Survivor and Object of Obsession, and it's fantastic. There's a problem with that. So if you're running the black box, you have to run Dying Light with this. You have to have another perk. This perk is useless without Dying Light. You need to have Dying Light in order to go after the obsession, because they will just get out of the dream world and they are fucked. And if they run the add-on or not the add-on, the offering where you start this trial with somebody else, they're just gonna get woken out of it. Now we go to perks, and this is another reason why Freddy is bad. We are gonna examine Freddy's best perk, and that is Fire Up. Fire Up is his best perk. Now, it's not a good perk. Basically, every time you fail a generator, you get a boost in your speed to picking up and dropping survivors, breaking pallets and generators, and vaulting. Now, this does give you good mobility, but at the cost, good mobility on vaults, and, you know, it does give you brutal strength, and a little bit of brutal strength, bamboozle, you know, stuff like that. But there's a downside that you have to let them complete the generator. This is what I like to call a bailout perk. So, as you are losing in the game, Fire Up is letting you catch up. The problem with Fire Up is this. As soon as the exit gates are powered, you lose Fire Up, but you get your other two perks, and your other two perks are very niche. Now, one of them is Remember Me. Let's start with this. This is a bad perk to run. Sorry, it is. It does have a use in one very specific build. That's with Dying Light, that's with Remember Me, that's with the add-on that I showed you that I can't remember the name of. You know, this is very effective in that scenario. This is great with NOED, you know. There's a problem with this. So what you're doing is you are going to be tunneling that one survivor. Every time you hit them, you increase the opening of the exit gate by 5 seconds. Now, this applies if you hit them and you down them. So, basically, downing them twice counts as, if they're full health when you down them, by the way. Downing them twice counts as 4. Now, the problem with this is that, and this is the bad part, the obsession is not affected by Remember Me. I do want to put in once and for all that Remember Me does not counter Wake Up, because, see, Remember Me and Wake Up counter each other only if the obsession has Wake Up. If the obsession doesn't have Wake Up, then it's shit. And Wake Up, by the way, does not increase your ability to become the obsession. So if I run Lori and you run Quentin, fuck you, I'm the obsession, you lose. So it makes the Wake Up pretty much useless in that situation. Wake Up really only works if you are the obsession, with the opening speed to counter Remember Me. Because you open it 15% faster, so you kind of cut through that 30% a little bit. Not a lot, but a little. The problem with Remember Me is this. You're tunneling one survivor. And that's another problem with Freddy's power. Putting multiple people into the dream world, you're not going to be able to keep them there. And that's another problem. He should be able to have a way to keep multiple people into the dream world. He should have an add-on where if one survivor is pulled into the dream world, all survivors are pulled into the dream world for a short amount of time, and then they have to pass a skill check to get out of the dream world. That would make it more beneficial to me, because if you get a skill check and you're in the dream world, your instant reaction is to fail it and get out. I think that greatly improves Freddy as a whole. If all of the survivors get pulled in at the same time, and you have to pass the skill check to get out of the dream world, but if you're the only survivor in the dream world, you have to fail it to get out. That would be a genius idea. That's how you fix Freddy, by the way. Blood Warden is also very niche. For one thing, Once per match, so this only works once, it's Haunted Ground, but end game. When you hook a survivor, while the exit gate is opened, remember that, this is not when the exit gates have been powered, this is when an exit gate has been opened. When you hook a survivor, you block all of the exits for up to 60 seconds. Now, this normally seems like a good thing. Combine this with NOED, you can get a hit, you can hook a survivor, they're blocked in, and you have NOED, you can go and you can start whacking them and downing them and go to town. Problem with this. A, this is actually a benefit to the survivor on the hook, because it means that he is going to be able to get off of the hook, because it encourages the other survivors to go rescue this guy. And B, if you're not running NOED, this is shit. And C, they fixed this bug. There used to be a thing on this where this would actually block the hatch and prevent the hatch from opening for 60 seconds as well. Like, if the survivor just died, like, let's say there were 2 people in the game, one person got hooked and they just committed suicide so you could get the hatch, it would not spawn for 60 seconds. There was a bug on that. It made it great. I loved it when it had that happen because it gave you counterplay. If that was an actual feature of Blood Warden, that would make it a lot stronger. Because it's not, it's useless. And that's the other problem. He has 2 perks that are meant to slow the game down and help you recover from all the generators being done. That's the thing. You have Fire Up that only activates as you are failing as a killer to stop the generators, and then you have 2 perks. Once you have failed to stop the generators, now you get these 2 perks to help you out, but they don't even help you out compared to fucking NOED. 1 perk is better than all of Freddy's perks. And they directly conflict each other. Now, if you want to go for the ideal build for Freddy, you have to realize what Freddy's power does. Well, Freddy's power causes you to go into the dream world, and you have to fail a skill check to get out of the dream world. So, the best thing you can do is to go for generators, because they're relatively easy. So you want to put on Hex Ruin. That's the first thing that you want to put on. Now, the second part of the build that you want to put on, is it here? That's my turn of use. Okay, hold on. So Pop Goes the Weasel. Pop Goes the Weasel will go in the 3rd slot. I'll explain out in a minute. I don't know where Overcharge went. I don't know where Overcharge went. Am I just being stupid? I just don't know where Overcharge went. There we go. It looks kind of like Ruin, that's why I got messed up. Now, this is the staple of your build right here for gen defense. And we'll talk about what you can put in the last spot in a minute. So basically, you put Ruin in because Ruin slows the game down. Now, you have to decide if you're going to defend the Ruin or if you're going to go after it. Now, if you do defend the Ruin, what you want is Overcharge and Pop Goes the Weasel. These 2 perks work incredibly well together, and they're going to work well for what you're doing. Basically, you are using Ruin to cause people to fail the skill check to get out of the dream world. They're going to do it, they're going to fuck up the gen, they reveal themselves. When that happens, it gives you a reveal on them, you chase them down, you tunnel them, you put them on hook, you kick the gem with Pop Goes the Weasel for the 25% max regression, and then you also are applying an Overcharge skill check as well, which will not knock them out of this dream world if they fail that skill check, by the way, and it gives you a notification. The last perk that you want to run is up to you. Now, I believe in having a second Hex Totem to go along with it. To be honest, if you're running this type of a build, you can run NOED, Huntress Lullaby, Haunted Ground, Devour Hope, 3rd Seal, pretty much all your hexes. You can also run Make Your Choice. I would say Theatophobia is another thing that you can run. And you can also run Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt, if you're putting that in here, is exclusively protection for your Ruin, and because it slows down the progress. That's all you're doing, and it's a bonus reveal, but it's basically just there to let you defend Ruin. That is about it. If you're putting on Thanatophobia, then it's a mixed bag here. Basically, you're hoping that the survivors don't heal each other, and you're just further increasing the slow effect. But if they're in the dream world, again, they already have that 50% penalty. They don't really need that. Putting on Make Your Choice gives you extra lethality out of Unhook, but remember, you can't take advantage of it compared to other characters because you have to pull them into the dream world for anywhere from 6 to 8 seconds. Third Seal is good because it prevents survivors from seeing each other. This is a bit more niche. I would not recommend this as much. And then getting into the core part of your build is one of these. Haunted Ground is a good build to run because it gives you a boost to your lethality temporarily, and it's a slight protection to Ruin. But that's about it. Devour Hope is very strong on this build because you're going to be hooking a survivor and then going with Pop Goes the Weasel. So this is strong, but it's not the strongest thing. Huntress Lullaby is another very effective perk that you can run because this acts as basically a second version of Ruin, and it gives that increased 6% regression penalty. And then you have Noad, which is just endgame lethality, but again, you can't take advantage of that compared to other killers. This is my ideal build, is Pop Goes the Weasel, Overcharge, Ruin, and Huntress Lullaby. And the problem with that is, so you have a Huntress perk, you have a Clown perk, you have a Doctor perk, and you have a Hag perk. So these two are pretty easy to be teachable. But you have to get Huntress and Clown as DLC, or hope and pray the Shrine of Secrets is good to you. So this is the build that you're going for. You're going for max gen defense. You have no way to stop them from healing, which means if you hit them and they get away, then congratulations. You have no way to increase your movement speed realistically. You know, this is not very good. And yes, you know, oh, your aura is revealed when you're in the dream world, but you're outside of his terror radius. Well, whoop-de-doo. Like, I mean, most Freddys don't even take advantage of that, is the sad part. So, to wrap this up, how do we improve Freddy? He's only good at generator defense on this build, and that is a stretch at that. Adept Freddy is nearly impossible to get, and the only reason that Freddy wins is because he capitalizes on other survivors' mistakes. He is absolutely horrible on his own. It's simply the fact that he capitalizes on your mistakes. You have to make a mistake for Freddy to win is the problem. If 4 survivors play a flawless game, they don't make a single mistake, Freddy gets 0-4'd. He will never find the survivor. The thing is, they have to change Freddy's power. They don't even have to change it, they just have to buff it. I already said all the survivors get pulled in Dream World at the same time, maybe being a thing. Personally, this add-on right here, the Z block, needs to be base kit. He has to have a 6-second transition, and then if you increase the transition time, it goes up closer to 8 seconds, and if you decrease it, it goes down to 4 seconds. That gives him lethality, because as it stands right now, as Freddy, if I'm running a character like David King, with no Mither, dead hard, you know, resilience, and we're gonna live forever, I will literally sit there and work on the gen with my resilience for the bonus speed, wait until the last second, get off the generator, start running, and dead hard as soon as he tries to hit me. And now, I've completely countered if he's running the movement speed one. If he's running a paint thinner, I've completely countered it because I dead harded through his only use of it. I countered his first hit, I got as much on the gen done as I could, and he's now chasing me and ignoring the generator, which I already got a decent amount of the way up. So, yeah. All in all, Freddy is just a weak killer. He has one viable lethality, and that is this. If you're going for a black box build, it's real simple. It's black box, and it's dying light, and everything else is up to you. And the real problem that I think Freddy has when it comes to lack of lethality is he just has lack of interest. I don't want to play Freddy because it's an uphill battle. It's not challenge mode. People say no Mither is basically hard mode for survivors, but there is viable builds around it. Freddy has no interest. It's like playing Pokemon and trying to win with only Magikarp with Splash. Hope you enjoyed. I'll have more later.